Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market. It's our daily show from Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. GMT every day of the week, where we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the seal market. So we're going to get into all of the headlines and more in just a moment. Just a reminder, I am your host, B-Check. I'm joined by my legendary co-host, my legendary co-host Sammy, and another reminder that nothing that we say here is financial advice. We do not know anything for sure, so please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, legendary, how are you doing this Wednesday, the 21st of February?
GM, I'm not a native speaker, so I would quite like to ask, is Sam a positive adjective? Is it something cool?
My Sammy co-host.
My Sammy co-host legendary, and my legendary co-host Sammy. So we need to define if Sammy is a good adjective.
Sammy, thoughts?
I'm doing...
maybe I'm the alter ego. Legendary's the legend, and I'm the opposite.
Yeah, could be.
Villain arc. I think exactly. I smell a villain arc somewhere in there. I'm doing quite well. I actually had a very pleasant surprise this morning that I didn't expect at all. I was looking through some of my wallets to see if I have an optimism claim for the 4th airdrop.
Yes.
I found something else instead. I found the creeps in one of my wallets that I absolutely forgot that I had. I know, obviously I remember having had 7 or 8 of those, and I thought that I sold them all in the last cycle, but apparently I didn't. So yeah, I found one. That's quite lovely.
That is pretty exciting. What was your creeps trade back in the day? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I sold them because I had so many. I sold them all the way up to 7, 8, 9 ETH. Obviously, some at 3, 4, 5. So I just did ladder them up ETH by ETH, and I again thought that I had sold them all, but I didn't.
Very exciting. So you've got one left. What are your thoughts? Portal Coin isn't really one of the headlines today, but we saw the announcement of the Binance listing and the creeps pumped. I did a tweet on that this morning where I believe, let me just double check. The
creeps are at 3 ETH right now.
Yeah, creeps ripped up 20% to 3.4. Maybe they've dipped down a little bit on the Portal Coin Binance listing announcement. What are your thoughts there, Legendary?
Yeah, I mean, not surprised to see that momentum also extending to creeps. I think the more interesting number, though, is that the pre-market for Portal has gone up as well. Traded at $1, went up to $1.8 on the Binance announcement. So that definitely is the exciting news for everyone who is involved in whatever stage of the token sale.
Yeah, maybe it's worth just changing the title. Let's get into it straight away. I know it's not one of the headlines, but I think people will be interested in this. Let's change the title to something Portal Coin related, and I'll share the screen as well to kind of get people up to speed on what I was tweeting this morning, which I think a lot of people were interested in. So on Whales Market, here we go. So on the screen for people watching, what I'm showing is first the rip up of around 20% on the Creeps collection, which went to about 3.4 ETH on the Portal Coin Binance listing announcement. And then I saw some information. I thought, oh, hang on a sec. What's it trading on this Whales Market? Someone actually asked me a question in the comments like, oh, where are you getting this information? It's called Whales Market. In fact, I'll put it in, maybe we can put it, I'll share it in the chat here, guys. And maybe if one of you could please share it in the Twitter comments if people are interested. So on Whales Market, you can trade points in advance. You can do OTC stuff in advance. And I think the way that it works is you need to put up the amount that you are willing. You need to put up the amount that you want to sell it for as collateral. I think that's how it works. You can't just say, I want to sell 1,000 Portal coins for $1,000 and expect someone else to pay you immediately. Like, you need to put up that collateral as well, but you need to like double check that because I haven't dived into it perfectly. But as you say, the point is that we can see here in the screenshot of my tweet that maybe like a day or two ago, they were trading at under $1 actually. And then in the last few hours, they were trading as high as $2 per token, 1.82, 1.7, 1.75, 1.8, 1.6, 1.8. Just going to the Wales market website to see some live data there. While I do that, Legendary, any thoughts on this kind of activity? And then we'll hear from Sam as well.
Yeah, you are perfectly right. You do need to put up a collateral. I would say the caveat with that obviously is that the volume isn't necessarily the highest, but I do think that Wales market generally has been quite a good indicator. I think we saw it with alt, we saw it with Stark. I mean, Stark did rip even more, so I do think it is a good indicator. But again, the caveat is the low volume on that side of things. But I always love to look at whale market and do base some of my calculations / moon math on that.
Interesting. I do want to ask more questions, mainly on Wales market, to see if we've spotted any trends here. So just to update people on the latest trades on Wales market, you've got Portal getting filled at $1.60. That was 8 minutes ago, $1.65, an hour ago, $1.59. So it's dropped a little bit from the morning when the announcement came out, but obviously much higher than the dollar figure a few days ago. Great caveat by Legendary, which is that it's not like the highest amount of volume. So you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But I guess the question, and maybe we'll go to Sammy first and then back to Legendary. Sammy, have you noticed, first, what do you think of this move? What do you think of Wales market? Have you noticed any correlation, or what is the connection between these kind of pre-trading prices on whale market and the price that we come out at after? Have you noticed anything there?
Yeah, I think like if you compare the Pixel token that launched recently, that was trading at around, I think, 30 cents on Wales market. I think as it got closer to the actual launch, it kind of traded around the 0.4 marks, and then that eventually came out the gates at around about 0.5 and pumped to about 0.6 something. So that had about 7 billion of staked interest on that Binance Launchpad. So if you've got a similar amount of interest for Portal Coin, I think it's reasonable to predict that it could come out a similar amount to the OTC market or the forward market, which is effectively what this is. It's a good proxy. I think in the absence of other data, it's a good proxy for what people are prepared to pay for it. So, and I think they probably will, the guys that are trading this are probably willing to pay a slight discount in the hopes that it pumps higher so they can sell it into the actual live market. So there is that as well.
Sure. You mentioned an interesting different data point there. Wanted to just touch on that to double click on it. You said something about the amount staked on Binance for future interest, was it? Could you elaborate on that? Do you think that's actually a good indicator to like double check what these prices are trading at on Wales market to see like, okay, hang on a sec, is there like bigger demand on Binance now that it's got that listing?
I think there's various indicators you can use to decide what the demand is. I think with Pixel specifically, it was a launch pad. So you'd stake whatever collateral in the hopes that you get a yield of a potential Pixel allocation through a 2-week period. So leading up to that 19th of February launch. So that was a good indicator for Pixel. There's probably other indicators that you can use for Portal. I'm not sure if they're on a launch pad, or whether it's just going to be listed on Binance. I don't know if Legendary's got a better understanding of that. But yeah, I think just trying to look for indicators that there's actual demand for the token can then kind of suggest whether it's going to do well up the game. I mean, most tokens you see kind of pump and then dump and then kind of sustain and kind of find their equilibrium. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's difficult to, I mean, Pixel is very different. Well, it's not too dissimilar. It's gaming, and Portal Coin is supposed to be gaming. So you could argue that it's a similar segment of the industry. So yeah, looking for benchmarking that way as well could be a good indicator.
Yeah, very interesting. I'd never thought about tracking that number of staked interest on Binance or whatever you have to do to farm it. I guess that would be a reasonable proxy for demand, right? Like if they offer the farming for BNB plus USD, and loads of people are doing it, then clearly people want to do that. So I'd love to track that in the next couple of days if we make a note of that. Legendary, circling back to you, reflections on what Sammy said. Anything on the direction of Portal Coin / this open interest on Binance?
Sam is absolutely right. Very much agree with his analysis. And Portal is launching on the launch pool. Works basically like this: you can either stake BNB or FTUSD for Portal rewards. The pool is 40 million Portal for the BNB stakers and 10 million Portal for the stable stakers. Farming period starts tomorrow and goes until the 28th. So basically 1 day before the token will be listed on Binance. And definitely having a look at how many people are staking in there, or not how many people necessarily, but how much capital is being staked, I think is a very, very good indicator for the demand.
And sorry, go on.
If you've even seen some bigger traders who moved some of their positions back from other chains to BNB just to be able to stake there and have more exposure to Portal. So definitely haven't looked at the aggregated numbers, because I think, as again, it only will start tomorrow. But just from speaking to a couple of bigger traders, I know that they're getting some more capital ready for that. So it will be interesting to revisit that on Friday, Monday, to see where we're at compared to some of the recent launch pool launches, whatever.
Okay. Very interesting information there. I think we should definitely track that number, not just for this coin in particular, but just in general. That seems like a really helpful data point. So let's make sure we're across that in the next couple of days, and kind of as we go into launch, not only to know about Portal, but also so we can think about when the rest of the coins come in the next few weeks, in the next months. We'll have a picture of what kind of relationship it has to the Binance launch pool and the amount of interest there is there. So I think that would be really interesting. We've got a few hands on this Portal topic. Let's get to them quickly, because we want to get into the headlines and onto the seals in just a moment. If you are a Sappy seal holder, we would love to have you request and come up and join us today, because we want to learn more about the seals. We do know a little bit, and I've been learning a bit more, but we definitely want to hear a little bit more from you guys. So Jack, your hand is raised first. Welcome to the stage, my friend. What are your thoughts on Portal Coin, Whales market? Where do you see the price going?
Yeah, first, BT, I just want to quickly say, I also found an alien CryptoPunk in my wallet the other day, and 100 Bitcoin. Each, for context, I find just as ludicrous as Legendary's statement that he found a bloody creeps in his wallet. Just ridiculous. Legendary. If it's a purple one, I'm never coming back on this show. I just cannot handle the just pure ridiculousness of that statement. That thing was never under a couple of ETH. So the idea you just lost that thing, I love how crazy your bags are. Outside of that, yeah, Portal's really interesting to me, like how they're trying to sort of leverage themselves as a coin that not only has it sort of standing alone with creeps and like what they've built out within their own sort of ecosystem, but also to bring in other games without having to build that reputation, build that marketplace, and just say, look, you can leverage our reputation, in return you'll use our token, and the ecosystem that could build. Did a private AMA with Joe from Overlord a couple of weeks ago for the X Plus group, and they have a lot of things cooking. And if you look at what Creeps did in the first run when they released their project, it was like a very quick cadence of like launches and different products, and it blew the space away. And they've been building for 2 years since that period. It just went dead silent, and they've been building that whole time apparently. So very interesting. Also to note, they do have an NFT upcoming as well, to my knowledge, which is, I think it's something like Heroes. So correct me if I'm wrong if anyone knows more, but just another point to make there.
Very interesting stuff. I have seen, I think those are very fair points. They've been doing good stuff in the bear market. And I guess it's always been the assumption that they must be doing something. I think the news flow on Portal has always kind of frustrated people, in the sense that there's always been alluding to like some big news, like some news that's going to break the internet or break the space. And I don't know if we've necessarily had that. But at the same time, there's always been the belief that they've got these certain good backers. They have done some very positive things too. So people, I guess, kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt or believing in them for those reasons. Interesting perspective. Want to circle back to Legendary there, just for any final reflections. I don't think we have any other hands raised now on this topic. Legendary, any final thoughts on Portal? Otherwise, we'll move on to the headlines and get into the seals.
Yeah, I think Sammy and I had a bit of an exchange in the background
Yes.
on benchmark data. Sammy came up with a post on the recent launch pool stakings, and Pixel was definitely the highest with 7.6 billion, and Alt was very high up. So was, what is TLM? No idea what TLM is right now.
I do not know what TLM is.
I think that's
Anyhow.
Alien, maybe. I don't know. I need to check, but I think let me check. I think it's Alien token.
Very interesting. Okay, so this is a great visual for the people who are just listening. We've got the visual up of, amazing. All of the data for the biggest total amount stake on the Binance launch pool.
And if you compare that to the last 4 coins that launched in terms of the market cap, for example, you have Manta, which had 5.7 billion staked and had a market cap of 770 mil. Old had 6.7 mil staked and has a market cap of 550. Pixel 380 mil with 7.6 billion staked. So just looking at those 4, it doesn't necessarily seem that they are correlated, but also it's hard to compare something like an L2 solution,
Sure.
like Manta, to a game. So it is a bit of a difficult comparison, but I still think that the interest in the launch pool is a good indicator for the demand of the token.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so it's not as straightforward as we would like it to be. We would love to be able to look at it and say, oh, this has the most staked, therefore it is going to be the most valuable. So it's not as straightforward as that, is what we are learning. But nevertheless, an interesting data point, try to figure out something. So we're going to keep an eye on that relationship and see if we can learn anything more, not just for Portal, but as we go on and all of these other coins keep coming to the market, because we're obviously in a market now where lots and lots more things will keep coming. Thanks for that analysis. Thanks for sharing that, Sammy. That was really helpful. Let's get into the headlines then, and then we're going to get into the Sappy Seal stuff. I want to bring you up to speed with everything that's happened in the market in the last 24 hours. As always, this is from the snapshot, which is pinned up top. If you do like it, please do give it a like. So in terms of price action, we've got Bitcoin flat at 51.4. ETH is sitting at 2.9, trying so desperately to get past 3, has been touching it, but then been rejected. Solana down a few percent at 104. Ape down a few percent at 1.7. Headlines today: Sappy Seals rip up 50% to 1.7 ETH after denying claims of a raise and insider trading. Wab founder Wab had this to say. He said, I think all of these random accusations and claims are a result of the extreme information asymmetry between the actual core seal community and outsiders. They all actually think we were just a meme NFT and have zero clue about what's going to go down this year. A couple more thoughts, which I thought were interesting and that I picked out, was that Storm.eth had shared that the head of advisor of Horizon Labs is literally saying he's going to get seal holders airdrops. And I verified that. Degentraland had written a positive post about seals saying, I'll be pushing our token partners to give them community airdrops in the next 6 months. So maybe that is at least some explanation, but would love to hear more in just a moment. Next, Pudgy Penguin's new line of toys were reordered in Walmart. Luca Nets said today marks one of the most historic days in Web3. The Pudgy Penguins reorder in Walmart is an industry-defining moment for NFTs, signaling that NFTs are here to stay and that the door to the masses is now open. Final headline: Optimism airdrop 4 hits with artists earning as much as $25,000. Pretty awesome. One of my kind of chimp friends had written, he's a kind of pixel artist called Numo. He had shared that what an airdrop is 8.5 ETH or $25,000 that they managed to accrue just by producing art that people liked on, I think, Optimism Base and an app called Base Paint. So pretty crazy stuff. And Optimism obviously going to do more airdrops. So it does make you think, if you're a creator of any sort, probably good to experiment with these apps. Some notable sales: Azuki Gold selling for 50 ETH, Pudgy Penguin Wizard for 26, and some NFT floor prices. We've got CryptoPunks at 56, Bored Apes at 21.9, Mutants at 3.9, DGods at 2.8, Captains at 4.5, down a few percent, Azuki at 6.2, Penguins still holding above 20 at 20.3, Mad Lads dropped a touch to around 200 SOL, and the Nouns winning bid was at 7 ETH. Before we get into headlines, Legendary, any numbers there standing out to you?
More so than numbers, just the golden Azuki per se, with the golden sloth on its hood of the jacket that he's wearing. Obviously, as a sloth myself, quite like that. But I do think we spent enough time in talking about numbers, talking about portal coins. So let's maybe straight get into the seal situation.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like I set it up already. They ripped 50% to 1.7 ETH, and there seemed to be a bunch of rumors yesterday circulating. If we could change, oh yeah, we've changed the title. There seems to be a bunch of rumors yesterday circulating that there was some type of insider trading, that they'd maybe done a raise of some sort, and I'll get to those words a little bit more from the exact tweet by Wab, but I think one thing he said, which I think I agree with, is that there is an information asymmetry between the core SEAL community and outsiders. And whilst I would probably consider myself an outsider, and I've always been aware that they have a really strong community and that they've been doing cool stuff in terms on the meme side, on the community side, on the content side, I put my hands up and admit, like, I don't think I'm fully across of everything that they've done well. And I actually replied to him saying, like, what's the secret here? What's going on? I think he's mentioned something in terms of gaming, which I wasn't on top of. And he said, oh, check out the Nifty Island leaderboard as an example. I haven't gone and done that, but I suspect what I would find there is like very prominent SEALs just crushing it. Legendary, any reflections from you first? Matthew's got their hand raised too. Want to hear from him. Let's start with you first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that the SEALs have been dabbling and building around gaming for quite a while. Not hanging out that frequently in the Discord, to be honest, as a SEAL holder myself. But to me, it reminds me a bit of the Pudgy situation, when you obviously have a team, building great things, and they have been building for a good while. But if you have a sudden move in price like that, there has to be more to it than just, oh yeah, but we've been building all of this stuff for the last 6, 7, 8 months, which is a public info, if you want to put it like that, and the price didn't move on that. And if you have a sudden spike like that, there typically is more behind it. Not saying that there's insider trading or anything of sorts, but maybe there was news, maybe there's a speculation, maybe it's the airdrop, not even a rumor any longer, with the one that you touched on by Decentraland, from Horizon Labs to community airdrops, the Syncus airdrops. So I do think that sudden spike has to be tied to something more than quote unquote just the roadmap that they've been working on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm very. We've got the screen up showing the chart. It was as low as 0.7 something, like on Friday the 16th. So not long ago, it was really just underneath at about 0.7 to 0.8, just absolutely ripped in the last week. Let's go to Matthew first, and then Kalana's got their hand raised. I think he was a SEAL holder at least. Would love to hear from Sam, NFT Stats, in a moment as well, on this kind of meta of getting, like, you not even necessarily needing to produce or drop tokens yourself, and this assumption that other people are going to provide to you if you build a strong community. Let's go to Matthew first. Your hand is raised. What's up, my friend? And what do you think of the Sappy Seals right now?
Good morning, everybody. 2 points of alpha and 1 point of caution. The first is that clearly sea-based animals are the NFT alpha of choice. If you're going to be in the sea, that's where value is going to be. So look for the ocean. Cats and dogs, land-based animals, no good. The other one, well, I guess from the point of caution, really, is that it's a little concerning to hear this sort of hearsay from him. Oh, the Horizon Labs guy says that he's gonna do this airdrop. Like, we're in this really sort of frothy ecosystem now, where it's airdrop summer or airdrop spring or whatever season we're in now, and I think projects are sort of grasping at straws to try to provide interest and attention to their project and try to gather support and potentially do a little bit of market manipulation. And so I just like caution people to be wary of things like that. Like, there's maybe, what is it, 10,000 seals? That's a very low number of actual tradable securities or tradable tokens to go around. It can just be easily manipulated. So I caution people to just be wary about it. The final quick piece is that that they're going to get acquired by Yuga, because you talk about them in a price that gets pumped. And you have a pretty good track record of talking about projects that get acquired by Yuga then shortly after. So appreciate y'all.
Nice. Well, maybe there is more things that we don't know. One quick point of clarification, Matthew, is that it wasn't Wab who was saying that maybe someone from Horizon would be providing airdrops to them. That was actually a quote from the I don't know if it's the founder or the co-founder of Horizon Labs. That was a quote from them themselves, where they had said something positive and said, "I'm going to try to push our partners over the next 6 months to provide allocations to them." Is that what you were thinking, or was there an additional point?
Yeah, that's super problematic. Like, from a regulatory perspective, I'm just speaking in the US,
Sure.
but like, the promise of potential free returns absolutely makes this an investment contract, absolutely makes this something to be scrutinized, because they're saying it outwardly. They're saying it publicly in a way that's very much like, come do this, we promise we're gonna go do that. And that's totally different than, oh, congratulations, you got this airdrop. It's just a little bit concerning.
Sure. I mean, I actually I agree with that if that was coming from the founder themselves. But I think in this instance, if it's coming from the external party, I don't know that you'd be able to be liable in any way from a regulatory perspective when other people who are based in other jurisdictions are saying that they want to pump your token or pump your NFT. Any reflection on that, Matt?
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's really not necessarily, it really will matter who says it, like, especially if it's a founder. But I guess my point of caution is just, you hear a lot of hearsay, people are trying to do something, it may or may not lead to an airdrop.
Sure.
Like, who knows? So
for sure. Okay. Point understood. I think it's obviously fairly difficult to put any concrete weight behind someone saying, okay, well, we're going to try to do something. Obviously, there's going to be a hell of a lot of competing factors in the next 3 to 6 months, where every single NFT project is going to want to be a part of these allocations from everyone. So I take your point that it's worth, just double checking or being realistic that you might not necessarily get every allocation, even if someone wants to. Frankly, like, it could be said with the best intention, but you might not necessarily get it, even if someone is trying. So point taken there. Kalano, your hand is raised. Would love to hear your thoughts. I believe before you doxed, you were a SEAL. Is that true? What are your thoughts on the SEALs now?
Yeah, I mean, SEAL one day, SEAL forever, so I'm still a SEAL, and I will always be a SEAL, especially when we are close to hitting to ETH, definitely. No, but I just wanted to point out a few things, let alone the speculation about airdrops and all that stuff. That's cool stories. But for me, the reason why this pump is happening is, when I joined the SEALs, I actually put out a thread, obviously to pump my bag, but the thread was about how I thought the SEALs were the most undervalued collection. And even if you look at it now, they're still top 10 on NFT Inspect in collection ranking, and they have some of the biggest reach. They have, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands they have in terms of followers on social media and stuff. But it is one of those cute IPs that just has, in my opinion, the most potential. Like, obviously, we know Pudgy Penguin has kind of gone through the roof, but there are not many other IPs that I think have as much potential to reach like the broader market, outside of our own echo chamber. And that's one of the things that I'm personally the most bullish on. Like GIFs, obviously they have the meme machine, which is a cool thing. Pudgy has a lot of GIFs, obviously, and is #1 trending on GIF. But I think like the social metrics are, for me, what is the most interesting, because I think they are beating a lot of collections that have a much higher floor price in terms of, going outside of our Web3 echo chamber. And when your mom starts sending you some Sappy Seal gifts, it's usually a good place to invest, especially as they were under 1 ETH for a very long time. And so that's kind of my sentiment. And yeah, I think we are obviously. I expect a little correction in the short term, probably because it literally doubled or tripled in the last like 3 weeks. But I personally think they are going to be following the Pudgy Penguin kind of movement in the next 2 or 3 months. So hopefully I'm right, because I'm loading my bags for the last month. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping, and what I think is mostly about social metrics, not necessarily about the game. To be honest, I don't care for the game anything. I don't care for the game at all. But I care more about social metrics are the better indicator that I'm looking at.
Interesting. I love that you brought up the social metrics. One follow-up question from me, Kalano. Then we want to go to NFT stats. We want to go to Sammy, and Ledry wants to come in on this as well. One follow-up question is, you mentioned NFT Inspect as one of those social metrics. You mentioned the meme machine. What are the 3 to 5 top places or social metrics where the seals have been crushing that you don't think other people are aware of? Like Wab spoke about in that tweet that there's this information asymmetry. Like, where else are seals crushing that we don't think we know about, as a quick kind of hit for people to digest?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Inspect for Web3, that's the common one, and I think where are Web2 people going to find out about it is Instagram and TikTok. I don't have Instagram open on my phone, so I don't have the numbers. If someone can pull it up, that would be great. But I know it's well over 100,000, and I remember they started literally maybe 4 or 5 months ago. They had 3 posts and like 10,000 followers. So the speed of growth on the Instagram page is what is really giving me the bullish signs, and then on TikTok, I know they're on TikTok. I don't know the numbers either. But that's really what I'm looking at. It's where are people going to find out about it, and can they use those gifts? Can they use those gifts in it on WhatsApp, for example? If you're sending a gift on WhatsApp, you can find Pudgy, but you can also find the seals. So those are the things I'm really looking at, where we can get normies not knowing about NFTs and sending seal memes every day, and that's where we get the W at the end.
Nice. Really great to have your insight, Kalano, as a holder. Really appreciative of that kind of additional context and information. Thank you so much for that. NFT Stats, welcome to the stage, my friend. What are your thoughts on the seals? Do you think they could go in the direction of the penguins, either now, sooner, down the road? What are your thoughts here?
I don't know if I have anything all that smart to say. I think, look, these guys. I've been, Dancing Eddie has been a friend of mine for a long time. He's a seal maxi. He said this move materially impacted his net wealth. I've been following Wob for a while, and I chat with him a fair bit. These guys are kind of like one of the groups I put in the more like based camps of NFTs, like a bit broy, a bit like talking about how, kind of really pushing against some of the moves towards more aggressive royalty enforcement, stuff like that. They're kind of a bit more on-chain maxi types. This is just from my experience talking to them and reading what they say. But I felt like you just had a few people, like Clemente came out and was pretty aggressively bull posting on them. Degentraland did it. I think there's some Mad Lad holder who swept a whole bunch last night. And I think a lot of times, these stories just move in waves, and what Wob said about the information asymmetry, it's like, I've been tweeting about projects pumping for the past 2 years. Like, I'm like the guy that always tweets when something goes parabolic, and everyone comes in and says, that's because you don't understand how awesome our community is. And that's kind of like what everybody says. Like, they've been working hard, they know each other in their discords, they vibe well, whatever it is. And now they say, like, well, everyone's just finally seeing that happens. So that kind of point of information asymmetry, basically just saying we're awesome and only people on the inside get it. Like, that's kind of what everyone says when they pop. And, but it just feels like there are a couple people on the timeline that started pushing this narrative a bit more aggressively. And that's what this game is all about. It's about getting, once something starts rallying, people like you and me say, wait, I'm in NFTs and I don't own a seal. I should own one. Like, I should own everything that's like moving. I don't want to be part of this movement and devote my life to NFTs and not own the stuff that like could be the next big thing. And it kind of starts to feed on itself, and you get people buying after a bit of a rally starts to happen. So, I think that we had that playing out right now. I think this market is ripe for that, given the way that penguins have gone from 4 to 20 in the past, 4 to 20 in the past 6 months, given the way doodles have kind of had a rebirth, given the way moonbirds have gone from 1 to 2.18. I think the market is like willing to start playing the momentum game a little bit more, and Sappy Seals is kind of a good candidate for it because it has a bit of history and it has a lot of people who are still very, very present, and Wob is vocal and present and always has been. So, I think it kind of all makes some sense. I wouldn't go too deep into like what has changed or whatnot. I just feel like it kind of just got the wave.
Yeah, really good points. As you say, like it seems like it's got a lot of the fundamentals, like what people kind of look for, like a strong founder, a vocal founder, some nice social metrics. Like it does all have those components. But I love the point about how everyone claims that other people just don't understand. It's kind of like the other point you've been making recently, Sam, which is that everyone wants to kind of create an enemy out there for themselves in the timeline. Like, I think this, no one else understands. Or look at me dunk on all the people who didn't take the trade that I did. And actually, there might be like one person that exists that is this kind of fictitious character. Do you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just noticed that every celebratory tweet goes hand in hand with dunking on like all those haters, and I was talking, or dunking on the cabal. That's the other thing that they'll do. Like, the cabal is seething right now that I'm succeeding, when really like there is no cabal. So I don't know. I think I was talking to Eddie about this yesterday. He's like, you don't get how many people hate seals. And I'm just like, I worked at Moonbirds. Who are you talking to about people hating? I worked at Moonbirds for 18 fucking months, and you're telling me people hate seals? It's like every community has a lot of people who hate them, or who they think hate. I shouldn't say hate them. Everybody has a group of people that they've argued with before that have said your JPEG isn't actually worth $4,000. Like, everybody has that. Like, and that goes all the way. Like, people say art isn't worth something because they pay pieces. And I think when your financial wealth is so tied to something, those voices become massive figures in your mind, so it's almost like you can't tweet about your win without talking about the people who once upon a time hated on you. And it's, I don't know, I find like the timeline ends up being more contentious than it needs to as a result of that, or you start to see inside people's heads a little bit when they tweet like that, but it's kind of just an observation.
For sure. I think people want to try to be combative sometimes, and maybe that actually makes for better content. That's the kind of thing I'm starting to conclude. I think for whatever reason, it hits harder when you are a little bit more combative. But Eddie's ears were burning. He's joined us up on stage. Just so people know, I've got a bit of information to share. We're going to go to Sammy first.
Eddie, what's up, bro? How you doing?
I am good, but I think Legendary wanted to, or no, sorry, P-Check wanted to toss. So
we're coming right to you, Eddie. Just going to go to Sammy, Legendary, and I've got some interesting data points to share. We've been talking about the social metrics. I've got this up on screen for people who are interested. This was shared by Mr. Pixel. Shout out, Mr. Pixel, great Chimpers holder. And it says it is true as of 16th of February, 2024. Need to verify that, but it's got some of the cool metrics on Instagram, TikTok likes, and Giphy views. And Seals are doing pretty awesome. So Seals Instagram followers from a couple of weeks ago at 191K, TikTok followers 187K, TikTok likes 2 million, Giphy views 713 million. So like to place that in context, Chimpers have 500K on Instagram, Pudgy Penguins have 1.2 mil. Quick look at this. It seems like Pudgy is basically crush across the board with the most. God, the Giphy views on Pudgy Penguins is 14.4 billion. Everyone else is in the millions. But like, there's a few where like Chimpers might be stronger. There's a few where Seals might be stronger. So just interesting context that Kalano was mentioning, like these social metrics do matter. There is value tied up in them. It's not perfect to kind of deduce how much there is, but there's certainly value in there. So interesting metrics to look at. Sammy, we were going to come to you first, Legendary, and then we're going to go to Eddie.
Yeah, I think the fundamentals make sense, and it is that OG project. I do think that the Pixel token does seem to be tied pretty closely to the project now. So you've got a pretty similar pump in that token that happened over the past couple of days, did a 2 to 3x. They did confirm that they finalized the tokenomics on chain. I think there's a 500 mil hard cap. I think the overall market cap, which is the same as a fully diluted, is about 40 million. So when you start benchmarking that against other projects, I know Pixels is around about the 400 million mark. So it's just like comparing those two. It's like, is the Pixel token undervalued, and is it intrinsically tied to the NFT project? Will it bring that up as well? So it's just interesting to see that as well.
Yeah, interesting that all of this is happening when a project already has their token out there, right? Because a lot of the meta most recently has been, we're buying into these NFT projects in the hope that they drop a token. But my understanding is the seals already have their token out there in the wild. So maybe Eddie will be able to provide some further clarification on that in a moment. Sammy, just a quick point. It's funny that we're like comparing Pixel with Pixel. Like it's going to get very confusing because I think there's another Pixel something coming out pretty soon. So definitely need some clarity there. Legendary, what are your thoughts here, my friend?
I mean, you can also throw Pixelmon with the Mon token.
Yes, that's the one.
Create the absolute confusion. No, I think if we take like 2 or 3 steps back, we are like fully in this token meta, whether it's waiting for your own project's airdrop by holding their NFT, or having exposure to other airdrops, as we've seen it with Pudgies, Mad Lads, and many, many other projects. And I remember like when we were in the bear market and we were talking like, will NFTs even have a second cycle? And if so, what will be the fuel to the fire to have that cycle? And nobody of us back then thought that it's just simply going to be connected to the airdrop farming meta and have like projects give airdrops to NFT holders, which again makes sense if you want to eliminate Sybils and have real users. But I do think with that, and I think Zeneca had also a great post on that while this is excellent, like to drive momentum, to have price action coming, to have that speculative element again, which kind of goes back to like the main reason why many people buy NFTs is just wanting to have that return, right? We had in the last cycle people looking for the next Bored Ape, especially also with the Ape token. Now we're looking for the next token airdrop that you could get by having one of those NFTs. And I think this will help to drive momentum massively, but I also think that once that airdrop meta settles, that the crash will be A, very rough, and B, inevitable.
Yeah, interesting point. I think that's probably true. When we're all airdropped out, like when they're because obviously people have been building for years, right? Waiting for the market to get better, and I think we're finding the market get better right now. And at some point in time, all the projects or the prominent projects will be all airdropped out, or unless they take the kind of longer term approach, something like Jupiter, where we're going to be like, look, one set this year, one portion this year, one portion next year, one portion the year after. So I think there's merit in that. I think an optimism, that's one of the headlines as well. The 4th airdrop in a series of airdrops being very, very substantial to a lot of people with more to come. So I think we're learning better about how to do tokenomics and how to do allocations. And I think people will be smarter about it, maybe in a way that you can mitigate that crash potentially if you take a bit of a longer term view. Right, I want to go to Eddie. We were talking about Sappy seals. We're talking about Eddie's visceral hate for all those people who hate Sappy seals. Eddie, come back to us on this. Who are these people that don't like these adorable seals?
B-Check, I'm here to tell you that everyone who's not in it has no idea what's going on. They're all stupid. And there are millions of people, millions literally, that hate the seals. No, I'm kidding. Imagine. I mean, I will say, like, obviously, well, not obviously, but there is actually a genuine subsect of people that genuinely despise the seals. But of course, every asset has that. So that's, can't really point at that. Sure. If I had to like point at anything, dude, the main thing is like, they needed a reprice. The amount of assets that are higher than seals and are just genuinely worse, like fairly objectively worse.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, one sec. I should sound much better now, hopefully.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so the amount of assets that were significantly worse than the seals, but yet higher, was ridiculous, and they needed a reprice, and they got that reprice. That was part of that. So that's like one part of things. But a lot of people are like, oh, what did they do? Did they finally ship an announcement? The main thing that they did is the seals are among the best at self-excising. So we've actually kind of over the past year been progressively, I don't know, it's like the best way to put it, but making people that don't fit the vision, I guess if you want to call it that, just leave. It's happened significantly. Like it's happened a lot of times. It's one of the better self-regulated communities. The last time that there was one that did it in the same sort was Milady, but they also went way too far. Like people don't want to buy an NFT that their holders are just consistently saying racist slurs, right? So like we're not. That's not what we're doing. But that is actually one of the biggest reasons. The other side of things is, I will say their team is actually one of the more crypto native ones. It's the reason why I believe in it, actually. Like it's the only like I'm very big against opportunity costs. I actually not huge on holding as many seals as I do, because that's a lot of ETH that I can be doing things like blur farming and whatnot. Sure. But the reality is, like, this team actually understands crypto and understands crypto mechanics. And if you've talked with a bunch of the DeFi teams that they talk with, there's very few teams that they laud as highly. And the last thing I'll mention is frankly, if you just look at the Nifty Island numbers, the only project that outperformed Nifty Island avatars themselves in terms of active usership of that game were seals, with like daily 500 people playing their game of the 4,000 or so holders, which is an unbelievable level of engagement. So I'm just saying, like,
that's
it
awesome.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Wab was alluding to. So thank you so much for that data point, because I didn't know that number, and it just makes me think more and more, like NFTs. One of the core purposes that they serve, not just for the project leaders themselves, but for everyone else, it's just like this proof of activity and personhood in a way that other users, it's so hard to gauge. Like everyone's so concerned with Sibyllas on DeFi protocols, whether someone's farming something, but like I do think that is a significant metric that you can say, like, there were this many seals playing a game for a significant period of time, like 500 plus in there for this many hours. Like, I think that's really, really important data
and I will say,
just kind of going, it's harder and harder to measure proof of personality and action. Go on.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, like, what's the tangible impact of stuff like that? So we had Degentraland from Horizon Labs Ventures saying yesterday publicly that he was going to be working fairly hard to make sure that seals get tokens from Horizon Labs Ventures engagements. So it's just, stuff like that. And beyond that, I will note, it's not like the team hasn't been doing things. Like, just two other things, and I'll make them quick. One, obviously the game. I actually don't really, like, I've never bought a pixel asset whatsoever. I've just been staking for their token and not been selling. Like, my entire thesis on the seals is entirely separate and separated from the game and everything like that, but it's a nice bonus. But I will say, like, that is not a game to be scoffed at from what I've seen, and from other people that know gaming, like Lupify, who is building out basically a gaming venture studio effectively, put out a public statement, I believe yesterday, that he is anticipating a 12x from here on their token. So that's pretty remarkable. And then, the last thing is they are still engaged in a bunch of other things across the space. And if you want to, like, know a testament to how excellent they're doing, they don't really talk about it, but stuff like Wob hopped on a space, I want to say a month ago, and it was a Line Friend space. So it was the Azuki. It was like Azuki and Mochaverse. We're talking with Line Friend about product, right? And obviously that's one of those things where everyone looks at Azuki and they're like, wow, which I love Azuki, by the way. They're like, wow, they're doing a great job. Look at this amazing partnership they have with Line Friends. It's almost like, I wonder why Wob is on that stage. There's nothing been announced about that, and I don't know anything special about that. Yeah, but I wonder why Wab was a scheduled speaker on that stage.
Yeah, I do think I agree with you in the sense that I think Wab is very highly regarded, and he does seem to get it. He's very vocal. He's very well connected, and I think he's doing a great job from that perspective. Eddie, thanks so much for that additional perspective. All kinds of interesting stuff there. Shout out to Pagsy in the comments, who did say, don't forget about Pixel and the Pixel Pets, which is the NFT and the game. So yes, thank you, Eddie, for bringing up the game, which I believe a few people have said is very interesting and not to be scoffed at. So interesting.
Oh, and B-Check, last thing. I will be insufferable when they hit 10 ETH.
Okay. It sounds like you're bordering on insufferable already, Eddie, but very, very pleased. Very pleased for you. Love to see the Seals doing well, and you as well. So well done, my friend. Let's do the quick Web3 roundup, and then want to get some quick hits, because the other two headlines were important, but we've run out of time today. So I just want Legendary to just maybe take us through them, the key TLDRs, and what you really do need to know. So as always, the Web3 roundup is from the snapshot, which is pinned up top. If you do find it brings you some value, give it a like. So Portalcoin announces Binance listing. We spoke about that at the top of the show. Very significant, started trading a lot higher on Whales market as a consequence. Number two, Rune Mania miners airdrop to Runecoin miners worth around $1,000 at the time of writing, as that's more stuff on Bitcoin. Mad Lads inscribe an ordinals collection. That was pretty interesting to see. I don't know the details on supply or anything to do with that yet, but interesting to monitor that. Number four, creeps rip up 20% to 3.4 ETH on Portalcoin Binance listing announcement. We spoke about that at the top as well. Backpack announces it's going live in 11 states in America, which is pretty significant given how difficult it was.
That was the biggest announcement from yesterday.
Yeah, very, very significant. For everything that Backpack are doing. Huge liquidity provider, CBBOFE, says they will only provide liquidity on Blast to projects giving 100% of dev airdrop to the community. That's pretty, I thought that was pretty significant news too, because it seems like the liquidity providers almost bullying these projects into making sure you give one of your incentives complete to the community. I'm not sure I actually agree with that entirely. And finally, Beanie shared Nut Market open beta on Say. 3,000 spots filled up very quickly. So interesting to see what's getting built out on the Say side of things. Legendary, that was the Web3 roundup. We've got a couple minutes left of the show. What are the 2 or 3 key TLDRs from either the headlines or anything else that you think it would be helpful for people to keep an eye on or be aware of from the last 24 hours?
Absolutely. I do have to comment on CBB's announcement. If you think about the fact, right, Blast is giving half of the tokens to the devs to build protocols, obviously with the incentive also being there to be airdropped to the people using those protocols, but coming out there being the biggest lender and being like, look, I'm only going to deposit my money and be your TVL if you give me 100% of your token allocation is quite a strong statement.
It's one of the incentives, right? Like for them. I mean, I know that maybe it could be
like,
reasonable, but like
give them a bit of room, like give them like 5% that they can keep or something. But like asking for 100% is quite strong. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Any other thoughts from the headlines, Legendary, that we didn't get a chance to touch on? Optimism airdrop and
the Pudgy Penguins getting
huge.
restocked. Yeah, Pudgy Penguins getting restocked. Obviously, big news. Sorry, I'm still a bit sick. Apparently, big news. To me, also significant to see Walmart tweet about that on their main account.
Yeah.
Or quote repost to be 100% precise. And also, and I posted that this morning, if you look at Walmart's account, 1.2 million followers, typically getting like 9, 10K, 12K views on the posts. And that repost is up to 360K after like 12 hours, is definitely a very, very impressive metric as well. And one quick final thought, because we're running out of time on the other news, just the Optimism airdrop. That was, as you said, airdrop number 4 for people who have either created NFTs on Optimism mainnet based Zora or have created NFTs on ETH mainnet. And the airdrop amount was based on the gas that was being spent on your NFTs being transferred. So the idea kind of being, if you're a successful artist and you sell NFTs and they're being sold in the secondary, they move around, you have some traction, people like your art, then your airdrop allocation was higher. Not a lot of people did qualify for that. Total of 24.3K people that were able to claim, or not to claim because it was airdrop to you, that were able to be happy about Optimism airdrop number 4.
Awesome stuff. Awesome little summary. Reminds people, if they need reminding, got to stay curious, got to stay experimenting with all of these crypto and NFT related tools. A lot of rewards coming to the curious people's way. And I expect that to continue in the next few months. Guys, we have run a touch over time. Thank you so much for joining. As always, thank you, Legendary, for co-hosting. Thank you, Sammy, for joining up top on video and X as well. Thank you so much to our speakers, NFT Stats, Eddie, Matthew, Kalano, Jack, and Oxy, and Funky. And thank you to everyone in the audience. We hope you enjoyed the show. We do this every day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. GMT. We'll be back again tomorrow, live from Paris. Have a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.